Go ahead.
Do we have a candidate for the upcoming election, Dawn?
He's about 3 seats over from you.
I have to leave my job to do that.
Like, have we gone down, or are we going down that road already to have somebody?
Yeah, sure. I can comment on the so none of us have gone. Oh, sorry, I have no vision here, so I can keep whacking it. So none of us have gone through a nomination process yet, so we're still a bit too far away. So what'll happen is once we start opening the nomination process, I think what'll probably happen is we'll get some of the more safe seats sort of out of the way and get some of those done, get a lot of the, because it's a lot of paperwork, right? When you go to become a candidate, you have to go through the candidate vetting and the interviews and all of that stuff. So I imagine they'll get some of the older ones done, not older age-wise, but, okay.
Put it to the other side.
Okay. Then I won't whack my teeth in there again.
See if that helps.
That's my big fear, is that I'm gonna knock one of my teeth out.
Yeah, no, for sure. And watch you don't trip on the cord now.
Okay. Okay, now I'm just nervous. Okay.
Sometimes you can't win.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that feeling. So I just want to say, one of our biggest disappointments in the last election, probably Jillian will agree with me, is we had buddied up with our buddy riding, our neighbor riding, which is Morinville, St. Albert. And we busted our butts for like a year leading up to the election. So every single Saturday, that's what we were doing, was door knocking in Redwater and Gibbons and Legal and just all over the place, Morinville. And we went to their garage sales and their meetings, and we did all kinds of things. We door knocked like crazy. We had a candidate, a really terrific candidate, but we fell short, right? But we came close. And so I think what you're seeing last year, all the stuff that happened with Danielle Smith and her riding in on her ivermectin horse during COVID, I think that she came in as like, "Ooh, I'm gonna fight Ottawa for you and I'm your savior." And it was hard to sort of battle against that momentum. But things are different now. I think things are very different now. And people are seeing that her vision for Alberta is very divisive. It's about creating an Alberta pension plan that doesn't do as well as Canada Pension, about an Alberta police force. It's about making the sheriffs, giving them more of a scope in their work, so they're really sort of beholden to the government of Alberta as opposed to the other structures that were in place. Her putting in political parties in municipalities. There's just so much. Firing the election commissioner. It just goes on and on. The corruption and the incompetence it's actually stunning. I have never seen anything like this. And so I think that a lot of Albertans are noticing. So this bodes very, very well for all of our ridings that we don't feel very safe or secure in. This is the time to start organizing because people are very, very angry, very frightened. And it is a good time to explain, listen, if you want to see things done differently, you can hold as many signs as you want. The only way to do that is to fire them. The only way to do that is by winning a general election. So this is where it starts, right? Showing up to an AGM, getting on the board if you can, donating what you can, donating your time if you don't have the resources to donate. But this is where it starts. Grassroots organizing starts in rooms like this. I think someone else had a question. Sorry, go ahead. I probably can't see you.
What happens to age workers?
What happens to AISH workers?
They're gone.
Yeah, so I have heard from a few AISH workers. I think that they're very stressed right now, right? And so I think a lot of people get angry at AISH workers or government workers, and it's certainly not their fault. They're getting a lot of direction and rules and policy that they likely don't even understand why we're doing it. They don't agree with what's going on, and it's just a bad situation. I think they've also terminated a lot of contracts, so instead of renewing workers that were maybe hired on a one-year term, I've heard this from workers, instead they're letting them go and then hiring new people on these more temporary contracts, right? So they just hired a call center, I believe, to call all the AISH recipients to remind them that they needed to apply for this new benefit or the government's going to take away the $200, which they already did.
Excuse me,
if you phone your ACE worker now, you go right to administration.
Yeah, there's no more, so ACE used to work like on a case management system. So people would have a case manager and they were big caseloads, I mean, don't get me wrong. But you could call and leave a message and someone would eventually call you back. And you develop a relationship, so you don't have to explain that your disability didn't go away from last year to this year. It's still here. And so we had that kind of relationship, but that is gone. So it's more of a central intake now. And this is all cost cutting. People say, well, why are they doing that? Why would they possibly do this? This is just all about money. This is always about money. This is about the bottom line. This isn't about ensuring Albertans with disabilities, all their needs are met, or that they're successful or happy. This is about money.
And PDE. Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, don't even get me started on PD, because you'll be here till like tomorrow. Yeah, no, listen, they're starving a system in ways like, so it's really, when governments come in and cut benefits, so let's say UCP would have come in and said, oh, ACE is $1,901 a month for people with profound disabilities to live on forever. So that's too much, we're gonna cut that. And, sorry, I just lost my train of thought there.
And then everybody will be really upset because they cut the amount.
Yeah, but, oh, there you go, yes, that's exactly what I was trying to say. So everybody would be upset that they're actually cutting ACE. What they do instead is sort of realign things, right? Create a new program, because really it's gonna be awesome when you get a job. So we'll cut your benefits by $200, but don't you worry, it's gonna be awesome, you're gonna get a job. Now this is the same person that would have gone through an application process to demonstrate that they are permanently, severely disabled and unable to financially support themselves. Now what changed from then till now? The UCP deciding that they don't need it anymore. They can work.
The client has to go through a 6-hour interview.
Oh, I'm sure it's gonna be worse than that. This is really just a mass reassessment is what it is. And it is the most ableist thing that I've seen in a very long time. And this is about, your value as a human your value is really only equated to how much you can work. And that's not fair. It's actually dangerous. So, yeah, go ahead.
I'm in a conversation with a high school friend of mine who's a UCP supporter, or was. She definitely is throwing her hands up for the UCP.
Yeah.
She says to me, what's the alternative? And I said, the NDP. And she goes, but the taxes. And so what, I'm sure what the UCP has squandered over the last whatever years is minuscule to the taxes that would increase with the UCP or with an NDP government. But how do you quantify that to somebody that you can't say it.
It's hard to, when someone's got that narrative locked in, right, the ANDP or, NDP is just gonna raise your taxes. It's really hard to give them facts and have them go, oh, you're right. I've thought this my whole life, oh, you're right. But that happens, right? So it's factually incorrect. So it's pretty easy to just fact check people. Often they don't really care about that. So what I tend to say is, if you want the actual facts, I can tell you really dry, about spending. But I'll tell you that in the last, 56 years now of Alberta, the last 56 years have been conservative governments except for 4 years of New Democrats. Mm-hmm. So the position that we're in right now is not because of 4 years of New Democrats, it's because of over 50 years of conservatives. So if you don't like the fact that Alberta Heritage Savings is as low as it is compared to, say, Norway, that's the UCP, that is the conservative legacy, that's not New Democrats. If you don't like the way that our unemployment rate is going, that's very much them. They've been squarely in power for 6 years. If you don't like our deficit or our debt, that's them. They have blown it up far more than the NDP ever did. They have wasted more money, and there has been more corruption than I can remember ever. I've never seen anything like this. So, people don't tend to really want to argue on the facts. It's just more of it's my favorite team. So I don't want to switch teams. I've always been on this team. And the New Democrats are just weird. And so I just want to be on my team. And so I find when you approach people that way, I get it. I totally get it. I've been on this other team for a long time. But let's look about what's changed. And I think new leadership says a lot. So in conversations I've had with people lately, when I bring up, Alberta New Democrats are different from other New Democrats across the country. So to make those comparisons isn't fair. We've also got a new leader who just has said, very frankly, my goal is to build a larger tent so that more people feel included and feel valued and feel like they have a home in this political party. And that was sort of music to my ears. I think like any political party, there are, far to the left, far to the right of whatever party that there is. That's just normal. People have different visions of what they want to see. But the fact that we're looking at what makes us similar and what are the values that we have together, and then sort of going from there. So I don't know. I tend to just kind of address people like, well, it's not like a hockey team, right? Things change. There's new leaders. You might want to think about these new things. Or you could go the fact route. I never find that works. I can demonstrate that the deficit and debt's bigger, like way bigger. I can demonstrate that their spending is way higher than it ever was per capita, like for New Democrats, but people don't tend to want to hear that. It's more how they feel, I think.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other thoughts that I had when we're talking about the money here, and I've often wondered, like, I was in the room recently when both premiers held their caucus meeting in Lloydminster, and I pointed out to them that in the last 20 years, and I just wanted to see their reaction, because I've brought up this with other conservatives as well. In the last 20 years, because guys are going at Ottawa for money, the only leadership that has brought new pipelines to Canada, in the case
ANDP.
of Alberta, has been the NDP leadership
Got that
of
right.
Rachel Notley,
That's true.
and under Justin Trudeau of all people,
Yeah.
have won 2 pipelines.
It goes against the
Alberta's
conservative
product
narrative.
market.
I know.
And I've said to myself, the deficit that Alberta is talking about right now would be a lot bigger without those 2 pipelines.
Absolutely.
In fact, the only reason, and it has nothing to do with the bills, the laws that the Liberals have passed, that the Conservatives are angst about. Pipeline development, for anybody who has watched the show Landman, would realize that the price of oil needs to be at a certain level for business to invest. And in the last 20 years, the price of oil has been up and down. That business is not interested in investing anyway. They would not invest. So therefore, the Conservatives were not able to build a pipeline under the guy from Calgary, who was Prime Minister for that's disturbing.
Yeah, under Prentice, yeah. No,
That's very
it's
disturbing.
very disturbing. It's,
And industry did not want to put their money in, so therefore the Liberals have to buy the pipeline. And that's how Alberta is getting oil to market.
yeah. And it's unfortunate. A lot of people don't realize it was Rachel Notley's government that got that done. She spent a lot of money advertising in Ottawa at the airport. I don't know if you knew that. There's big flashing billboards when politicians were landing to go to work. There's these big flashing billboards about Alberta being the economic engine of Canada, and we need this pipeline. So we understood that we needed to get our product to market, more of our product to market, get a good price for it. I think that we get stereotyped a lot as New Democrats. So, maybe that's another good example is to go back and say, did you know that actually under New Democrats, this is what we did? And keep in mind, that was during a recession. So when we won in 2015, we were in the middle of a lot of problems, and then things got a lot worse in 2016. So all of this happening in a recession where I think the job creation didn't tank, unemployment didn't skyrocket, inflation didn't run us over. We still got 244 schools built. We managed to increase minimum wage to $15 so that people could start earning a little more. We kept tuition capped. We capped insurance. We did a lot of different things. Development, a lot of investment in the oil and gas sector. I can't really speak to agriculture. That's not my area of expertise, but we did a lot. We indexed a bunch of benefits, seniors benefits, disability benefits, to inflation to ensure that we would keep up. So we did a lot of things, again, during a recession, keeping in mind that we were keeping the debt and the deficit stable, as stable as you can during a recession. So I think to say that we are not skilled financially is just a lie. We are far more effective and responsible than the UCP. But it's hard to counter a narrative that people have had in their brains for decades.
It's hard, and I think for me, looking on at what happened after that people either forgot, or that if we had to do introspection as people on the left, you would say, were we good enough to get our message out there? That we did all of these things, and that Stephen Harper didn't get any pipelines built, even though the Conservatives can talk all they want now. And I sat in the room, Daniel was there, Stockmore was there, and I pointed that out to them, and it was like pouring, the same experience you're having of trying to tell them when they say, okay, the taxes and so on. Well, we need the taxes in order to pay the ish.
You do.
And they just could not get it. So I don't know if we're doing our introspection, if we say to ourselves, were we good enough to get our message out there that we did all of these things?
No, definitely we were not good enough, because we lost twice. So that needed to change, and that's what we're working on. So, we were not good enough. At the time, did we know that? Probably not. But I think, again, it's about sort of countering this narrative, this spin that the UCP is really good at, right? They keep spinning the same stuff. We don't want a new Democrat government because they're going to do this and this and this, when we know it's not factually correct. We're in a really strange time right now, that in politics especially, it's like people can just say whatever, and they don't get fact checked, and they're lying. They lie right in the legislature, and they're lying right to your face, and there's nothing you can do. And so it's a very strange time right now. But I think, why the media is so important is they still have an important role to fact check, but all of us do as well. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure where to start with my comment.
Okay.
It's going back to media and the corporate news media, how it's failing us. But I watch a lot on YouTube where there's all kinds of clips coming to us from the States, from a network known as Midas Touch. And they are known around the world.
Oh, I follow them. Yeah.
Yes, and a branch of it has just opened up in Canada 3 weeks ago with Charlie Angus, who's heading it up. And the first broadcast he put out was to comment on what Daniel Smith is doing in Alberta. And what concerns me too is I watch a lot of the late night show hosts as well, and Stephen
Colbert.
Right, Colbert, Fallon, and Kimmel that just came back again.
That was
The
good.
corruption that is coming out of the States is affecting us in Canada.
Oh, absolutely.
And there are Canadians here that support what
Oh,
Trump is doing.
100%. Danielle Smith's one of them.
Well, and she's got the playbook right from Trump.
Yeah.
And I think we've got to see.
I think she wears a red MAGA hat at home.
Will she ever be accountable?
We have to see not only our microcosm, which is Alberta, but there's a whole global infestation of idiocy,
Oh, yeah.
insanity, psychopaths all over the place. And I think we have to be more in touch with what's going on global to see where I was going to be not very nice about. I call her demented soul. And
Danielle?
Yes. Well, DS, right?
Yeah, DS, get it? Yeah, makes sense.
And to know where she's coming from, I think helps us know maybe a little bit more on what fronts we have to be aware of.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, she doesn't have a
I'm
problem. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
This is the important one. There's a publication that comes out every day from DC called the Tyee.
Yeah, very
You know
good.
that one
Yes.
too? Excellent. For
They
me,
are
it's
excellent.
because
They are.
it's
It's
both
one of the
sides.
only progressive papers, right, in the West. That's really
So,
good. Yeah.
corporate media, what they're not doing, these little, not so little, they're
No.
gaining momentum. I
Yeah.
saw one this morning too, is called Private.
Okay.
A woman on there, fantastic.
Nice.
Like, these people are really aware and they're pushing back.
That's good.
So, where you want some other alternative
Yeah.
to the media.
And listen, Danielle Smith doesn't hide the fact that her political idol is Ron DeSantis.
Oh,
There you go. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about her. So she doesn't hide the fact that she aligns with, mega stuff. I mean, if you look at their project in America, Project 2025, that document, that a lot of their moves are following along. Anyway, there's one written by Rob Anderson and a bunch of other folks for Alberta that is very much along the same lines about the things they would do to sort of not separate, but kind of make Alberta first. And some of those, like, creating your own pension, your own police force, bad Ottawa, we're gonna do all these things. So you're quite right, whatever happens in the United States is bleeding in here, very much so in Alberta. So I think it's very smart to understand, whether it's through Midas Touch or another podcast. If you're interested, I've been listening to one for a few years. I find it really insightful. I like to follow American politics because it does bleed into Canadian politics. It's called Pod Save America, or there's another one called Pod Save the World. And there's a couple of, there's 3 fellows that used to work in Obama's administration when they were younger and started this podcast. So they're really good, really, really current, really informative, and if that's something you're interested in. There's some really great podcasts here in Alberta. I don't know if any people do podcasts here. If you're interested in politics, these podcasts I find very helpful just to listen to people when you're out talking to people and they're asking you questions about why would I go with the ANDP instead of the UCP, or what about this? Really great podcast. The Strategist is a good one. It's very local. Actually, Paula Simon, who is a senator, she actually has a podcast. I can't remember the name of it, but there's some really good local podcasters if you're interested in local politics. Or you could start your own Vermilion one. So I think I have gone way over time, and before I go, one of the things that we've been doing lately is we've been taking selfies at meetings that we go to. I'm a little competitive, so we all, we compare size. That's how we roll. And so I was wondering if I could do a selfie with y'all, if you could like squeeze in a little bit and we can take a photo.